What up, everybody? It's your boy Kakash13542, aka YG Fish, YG Piranha, aka it's your boy Marlon, here with some reviews. It's now May, and I'll be talking about some stuff that came out in April. There'll be a few things I was able to get my hands on. April was a very busy month for me, but I was able to watch a few TV shows and play a really, really great game, and we'll be talking about all that right now. We'll be talking about the Knuckles TV show that came out in Paramount Plus. That was about 6 episodes. We will talk about the Fallout TV show, which was like 8 to 10 episodes, which came out on Amazon Prime, and we'll be talking about that new Stellar Blade video game, which came out on PS5. Let's jump right into it. So, I really, really, really liked that Knuckles TV show. First off, the main reason that I liked it is because it was canon. I like them when they make spin-off stuff of TV shows and movies and video games and whatnot, and they're still canon. They're still adding more to the universe. That was my favorite part about the TV show. It was goofy. It catered to all ages, so at times it got a little cheesy and goofy, but then I had to remind myself that sometimes it can be for kids and it can be for adults, and you have to sometimes balance that wavelength when it comes to action comedy and some of the jokes that they make. And I really, really like where they came from with the heart and soul of the show being Knuckles, because everybody knows about Tails, everybody knows about Sonic, not only because of like the way that they did the Sonic 2 movie, but I just feel like people know about those characters more, and Knuckles has always been just a third character that you know of him, but audience members don't always know of him. You have to play a lot of the older Sonic games to know about Knuckles, as opposed to playing the new age games where he's just kind of involved with the crew and you just know of him as the kind of like the the red echidna. So that's what I like about the show is that they just kind of just give you more gumption to the character. Idris Elba does a very good job voicing everything, and that's my favorite part as well. Is that they kept the same cast as the voice of everything. The very first episode of the show, you actually see Sonic and Tails, still the same voices, still the same animation. So just make basically what they did is they brought in all three characters, and then they kicked it off with the Knuckles show after about 5 minutes of introduction and exposition, just to be able to give some basically canon, make them canon. That's really all that matters. Is that if anybody wanted to know, does this movie occur after the movie, and is it canon? Yes, 100%. Then they move into it. It's kind of like Peacemaker with HBO Max, how it continues after Suicide Squad. So it was overall like I want to say, I'm not gonna really rate anything anymore. I just whether I enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it and what I liked or didn't like about it. Like I said, it got a little cheesy at certain times. Again, it's because it's for all ages, so sometimes things have to be dumbed down. But overall, it was very enjoyable and it was humorous and fun, and I enjoyed the direction that they're going with it. We'll see what they do with the next Sonic movie and how they go with it with the story. We all know that Shadow is going to be in it, but we'll see what they do story-wise and how they're going to connect the TV show or reference the TV show in any way to the movie that's coming out. Again, the new Knuckles TV show is on Paramount Plus. I really enjoyed it. If you are a fan of the two movies, you'll enjoy it as well. If you're a fan of the video games, you'll enjoy it. If it's something for you just to watch, might not be something for you just to watch and enjoy, and you might not finish all of it. But if you have any kind of interest in the current universe that is of Sonic on screen and in a cinematic way, definitely go watch this. So, Knuckles TV show. Speaking of cinematic universes that are growing, video games are getting very much better in TV show wise. Um, we last year we had the Twisted Metal show that came out, which had its own adaptation, which was good and bad, but it had its own adaptation and it kind of went somewhere, and we'll see what season two takes it. Now we have Fallout, and it was, but before that, we go back a little bit further. We had The Last of Us, and The Last of Us was amazing. The main reason that made The Last of Us amazing was that they kind of took a camera behind the main character, which was Pedro Pascal's character, and they put a camera behind it. So you, the player, was watching the player. And that's all that mattered is you watched the main character, which was you in the video game, play the game. That's all they did. So instead of you playing the game, you were watching the game being played. That is exactly what they did with this Fallout TV show. They kind of did it even better than the Last of Us TV show, so to speak, because they didn't just remake the game, they told their own story while also remaking the game, if that makes sense. You have to have played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4, or at least a little bit of any of those three to understand what I have just said. The reason I say it like that is because The entire timeline of the show is loosely based around Fallout 3, which a lot of the bulk of the game changes when Fallout 3 comes out. Fallout New Vegas is dearly beloved among fans because of how well and enriched the world is, and Fallout 4 is just very unique, and we'll see if they go how much they touch into that one as well. Um, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas specifically, though, are just very, very well and beloved by the fans, and they have a very, very strange place in the story sometimes because they don't touch about it as much as they could. With them going into Fallout 76 and then just kind of just moving on and on, they never really backtracked into it. I really like that that's where the director decided to take this story and make that the bulk of the story, thus allowing for a lot of meat and potatoes to then happen into the story. If you've played Fallout 3 in any way, the story in the game is brilliant. The story in the TV show is just as brilliant, and that's what makes it amazing. The TV show and the game mirror each other very well, as in like the dad disappears, you have to go chase after your dad, you have to go into the wasteland to go chase after dad and figure out what happens with dad. Along the way, you might find a Yowie Gooey, which is basically a radioactive enlarged bear. That's what took out the giant Night Titus in the beginning of the show. Like there are enhanced creatures you might find out in this wasteland. Everybody that you encounter is probably crazy, and it was amazing that they were somehow captured a society that's like everybody's kind of nuts, but we've all embraced that because it's the end of the world and we're all still somehow here. But let's keep going. Like, we've turned that bullets is more negotiable than words, and if you don't like what I say, the bullet might you might like the bullet even less. So you might just have to listen to what I have to say. It's a very, very interesting way of take of the world in the wasteland because the wasteland is what it is. What makes the Fallout universe unique, they do this also in Bioshock, but what makes the Fallout universe unique is that the time period itself didn't change. Technology's influence did. And it's very influencing how I was speaking about this with my buddy Weeks, how I was in my opinion, I was explaining how I don't think technology influenced fashion as much as it influenced society because they found it so early in the development of American society. If we had found things in the 1600s instead of the 1700s, which is basically what happened in the Fallout universe, society would be influenced drastically more. Hence why they have robots and cold fusion in the 1950s, which is what this time period is like based out of, is between, the late 40s to the early 50s and our Earth scale of time. So it's very interesting concept of that time period had better technology, but still had the same fashion because fashion and everything was still society and stuff like that was still the same that way, but they had better technology. And by having better technology, society thus ran a little differently because we had more warring technology, so to speak. We had more warring powers and more technology at play. And just extrapolate that concept even further and further, and that's the Fallout world. So, if like I said, if you like the video games in any kind of way, or if you're intrigued for a new TV show, even if it's just a new TV show to watch, it's done brilliantly. One video game TV show that's missed the mark would be the Halo TV show, and that's because they decided to try to do their own thing and incorporate too much original story while disincorporating really the heart of the show, which is it's a video game. They have a lot of good visuals and they have a lot of good combat, but the story and the exposition is lacking because they're not treating it like a video game. They're treating it like a TV show. And if you treat it more like a video game that transitioned into a show, kind of like what Last of Us did, kind of like what Fallout did. Hell, I even think Twisted Metal did a better adaptation than what Halo is doing due to that lack of vision with knowing that it's a video game first. So, we've already been slated for Fallout Season 2. Walton Goggins is a god in that show. Like I love everything that Walton Goggins has done, and this adds to his repertoire of just greatness and his acting skills. I hope he gets an Emmy. I hope he gets something because his role, being able to portray the same character but in two different ways, thus making it two different characters, is phenomenal because the ghoul is the same character. You know, the ghoul is the character. He turned into a ghoul because of radiation and stuff like that. But before the ghoul, he was this other guy, and this other guy happens to be something completely different because it's a different life. You have to adapt differently. You have to live differently. And I really like how they took a play on a lot of the Vault Tech stuff on the Pit Boy and the Vault Boy thumb and the Vault Boy thumbs up, and how his character ended up being like the poster boy for the Vault Boy stuff, because the Vault Boy has a lot of really fucked up stuff that they say. Excuse my language on that one, but a lot of the stuff that they say is really, really messed up in a funny kind of way. But that's why one of the episodes is like, "Don't lose your head. Have a great day." It's like a lot of those positive messages will happen after something traumatic happens in the video game. And you're just like, no, like, but it just adds like this own like comedic messed up humor to the world of Fallout. Like it's just the way it is. So they mentioned super mutants in season one. We'll see, we get to see super mutants in season two. I know that like apparently since boat flies and apparently death claws are confirmed for season two according to my buddy Weeks. So we'll see if we see super mutants. We'll see if we see anything more. We'll see what season two has to offer. Again, I'm also excited for the story because it was a really, really good story. That's one thing they did good about it, is they did really, really good writing and made sure that it felt like the video game, but also felt like good writing on its own. Hence why instead of imitating the game, they made their own story, but they made it parallel to the game, which makes more sense than what Halo did. Like it's better than what Last of Us did, and it makes more sense than what Halo did. So, Fallout TV show, Amazon Prime, go watch it. I don't mind watching it with commercials, so I just have regular Amazon Prime, but definitely go watch it. I think it's phenomenal. Go enjoy that. The last thing I'll be talking about here is Stellar Blade. Um, First off, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun. What I want to tackle is the censorship, just a little bit about that controversy, and then I'll go back into how much fun I am having playing the game. It's really interesting that, on just a base level of just following the game, they said you're going to get the full version of the game, full version of the game, full version of the game. I unfortunately fell off at when the release dates came out, so I ended up buying it last minute, hence why I have the digital version of the game, and apparently the digital version of the game is censored due to just censorship updates that happen in the game that are different than the disc version of the game. And the disc version of the game is basically a non-updated version of the game. It doesn't have these censorship updates, basically, so to speak. Um, One of them, from what I understand, is that one of the suits you get in the game, the bunny suit or something, is supposed to expose more cleavage, more chest action on the character, thus making her more visually appealing, thus adding less censorship. If you get the digital version of the game, there's a piece of cloth that covers that cleavage and just adds less visual strip to the game. Wasn't what was originally promised to players, so they're upset. I'm not upset by it personally because it's just another costume. It's not one of my favorite costumes I was even looking forward to, but I can see how that makes players upset because it's not what they were promised. Come to find out, I am upset about the censorship in my own way because apparently, if you have the disc version of the game, when you play Eve, the character you play as, the blood is supposed to stick to her character model when you play in fights. And there's a lot of fights where blood spews out of the enemy and stuff like that. It's supposed to be basically a gorier game. In the digital version of the game, which is the one I have, the blood doesn't stick to her character model. She just kind of stays clean the entire time. And that does kind of bug me because, I'm a grown adult. I've played a lot of gory games. I don't mind gore sticking to my character. Why don't I get that? It's like, and it's just very interesting how I feel. I'm a little disheartened that they would do that to a video game. Like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's amazing how many people have already canceled their PlayStation memberships in boycotting Shift Up, the company that made Stellar Blade, in order to, try to petition against them, giving them a censored version of the game and they want them to update it. Who knows if they'll ever actually do it? Who knows if you have to go out of your way to go get a disc version of the game and that's it. It is what it is. And hopefully they don't update that disc version of the game to then make it all censored because that would be ridiculous. Hopefully, if they come out with a PC version of the game, there's no censored version. But if they come out with the PC version of the game, they would then have to release the uncensored version on digital for PS5 owners and stuff like that. So we'll see exactly what the direction is that happens. Um, it's a very, very fun game. We'll go into that. That it's a huge world. Combat's phenomenal. The button input is great. Character models are gorgeous. The dialogue and story is great. I really, really like how there's before there was comparisons to Horizon Zero Dawn just because of it visually looking, then there's comparisons to Horizon Zero Dawn because of the post-apocalyptic, post-humanity storyline and everything. So it's just very interesting. It's a female protag, so there's always that beauty and that joy in having a female protag because they look at things a lot differently than male protags. And we've had male protags for so long, and they're so much more common that it is interesting to have that different perspective. And that's how the game was meant to be taken on. That's how the game was meant to be seen. So it's just a very, very enjoyable game. One thing that I'm impressed with, that a lot of people are impressed with, is that New Game Plus was made available the day the game came out, which is not normal. A lot of times you have to wait for a New Game Plus update to come out for a game. They kind of have to make sure the game is polished and it looks well and it works well. If there's any updates or bugs or fixes that need to be made, they roll those out. Any patches that need to come out, they roll those out. And then, you get your New Game Plus game 6 to 8 months down the line, so that you can actually, maybe even a year down the line, like with God of War. Like I don't think we've gotten New Game Plus with the new God of War yet. So, if we have, I guess it was just Ragnarok that I was focused on, but still, that was still 6 to 8 months down the road that they did that entire rollout before it was even a thing. So it's very uncommon and it's very impressive that they have a New Game Plus available version of the game now, thus allowing you to get the full version of the game. Because apparently the New Game Plus version, there's more skins for you to unlock and maybe more things hidden in the story. Who knows exactly what they kind of did with it. So it's a very, very fun game. It's probably out of the button masher games that I've kind of gotten this year, where you just kind of just press square triangle to kind of like attack and defend stuff like that. This one I do enjoy more than Ronin. It's different than Ronin, and that's why I enjoy it more than Ronin. Because with Ronin, there's multiple weapons, this and that. I kind of like the single weapon style games. When you have to switch between multiple weapons, that can be a little confusing for me sometimes. That can be a little much. But when you only have one, maybe two weapons that you have a melee weapon and a range weapon. When you have just that, that makes it more streamlined for me, and I really like that. That's how this game is. So we'll see exactly what New Game Plus brings. And if you guys want to keep watching me play, I've definitely been streaming the entire time, so definitely watch me play it. Stellar Blade again is a fantastic game. Go play it. I recommend getting the disc version of the game, not the digital version of the game, just because of that controversy. And if you really, really want to enjoy your game, regardless if you're into the character model or anything like that, I think the gore version should be the version that everybody should have gotten regardless. So definitely go get this version of the game. So, all right, y'all. Kakash12542 signing off. Definitely like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys another time.